This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond, welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, December the 13th in 2007, one of the biggest, baddest reports to do with destroying Major League Baseball had happened. It was the report to the Commissioner of Baseball of an independent investigation into the illegal use of steroids and other performance-enhancing substances by players in Major League Baseball, or the Mitchell Report. United States Senator from Maine, George J. Mitchell, had a 20-month investigation into the use of anabolics, steroids, and human growth hormone in Major League Baseball. It was a 409-page report. It covers the history of the illegal substances and all that, and recommendations and all that to try to prevent this from the future. The report names 89 MLB players who are alleged to have taken drugs and all that. George Mitchell was appointed by Bud Selig in March of 2006 to investigate the use of performance-enhancing drugs in baseball. Mitchell's investigation actually focused on high-profile players and all that. And the MLB Players Association was largely uncooperative. And all that. Confidentiality was not an idle concern. The Players Association agreed to anonymous testing, only to find out that the list of players testing positive was turned over to the government, thanks to Balco. Mitchell gave Commissioner Selig an advance copy of the report, while refusing to use the same for the Players Association. Only 2 active players were interviewed for the report. Frank Thomas was one of them. He named some key enemies. Kirk Radomski, who was a former bad boy for the Mets and a critical witness, provided names that the general public did not know about. Mitchell was able to secure Radomski's corruption through a San Francisco attorney. Radomski was charged with distribution of controlled substance and money laundering and faced up to 30 years in prison. He reached a plea bargain which got him 5 years probation and was fined over $18,000. Brian McNamee was a personal trainer employed by Andy Pettitte, Roger Clemens, and Chuck Knobloch, basically the Yankees. So he was the strength coach for the Yankees and, unfortunately, for the Toronto Blue Jays. The Mitchell report said that McNamee acquired performance-enhancing drugs, including steroids, amphetamines, and HGH for some players he's personally trained. McNamee said he injected Clemens with steroids in '98, and he provided those steroids through 2001. Of course, that pissed me off so much that I got rid of my famed Roger Clemens Toronto Blue Jays t-shirt I got at a thrift shop. I just got rid of it. I said, I just can't have that there. There was another person by the name of Larry Starr. He was a trainer for the Reds and Marlins. But his information was omitted from the final report. So Starr even said that members of the '97 Marlins championship team used steroids. All that. And Starr said he found some syringes belonging to Marlins pitcher Ricky Bones and reported to superiors, but no action was taken. And all that. The findings were huge. 89 players were picked, as I said. The report describes motivations for its preparation, including health effects of steroids, legal issues, fair play, and reports that baseball players acted as role models for child athletes. For example, after news coverage in '98 that Mark McGwire used a fan legal drug, a steroid precursor, androstenedione, sales of the supplement increased over 1,000%. And they said that 8% of those of male high school senior athletes used the thing in 2001. Mitchell reported that during the random testing in 2003, 5 to 7% of players tested positive for steroid use. So, a lot of people said that HGH was the substance of choice among players, but random drug testing happened in 2004. Well, it was not a detectable test. So there was a lot of players in the Mitchell report. 89 of them, in fact, as I said. The major ones were Roger Clemens, Andy Pettitte, Miguel Tejada, and Eric Gagne. The Mitchell report had a recommendation that they use an independent testing administrator to improve their capability to investigate performance-enhancing drugs above and beyond the urine testing. And MLB should improve their methods of barring the drugs from the clubhouse. MLB should improve their efforts to educate the players and others about the grim health dangers from drug use. And when the club players and players associations take up negotiations during the league's drug program again, they should be guided by modern and first-rate standards. So the conclusion was that there were 5 recommendations. MLB's 2002 response to steroid use resulted in players switching from detectable steroids to undetectable HGH. The use of performance-enhancing substances players is illegal and ethically wrong. While players that use illegal substances are responsible for their actions, that responsibility is shared by the entire baseball community for failing to recognize the problem sooner. An investigation attempting to identify every player that's using illegal substances would not be beneficial, and MLB should adopt the recommendations of the report as a first step to eliminate illegal substances. CUtastrophe basically said that it's a call to action and I will act. All that. So there was a lot of problems and all that. So drug testing changed. It was very much strict and all that. First positive, if you test positive the first time for drugs, you get a 10-day suspension. Second's for 30, third for 60, and the fourth is a 1-year suspension. And MLB would increase testing and punishments and all that. Well, before the Mitchell report, and things changed a lot of things. They said the first positive test is now 80 days. The second is a full season, and the third is life out of the sport and all that. So there was a lot of criticism and all that. But the Mitchell report did bring in the fact about illegal drugs and all that. The surprising thing about this report is it didn't really say much about my personal feelings. In my personal feeling that, the drug test, the steroid era was Bud Selig's doing in a sense. Now hear me out on this. Remember, in 1994, under Bud Selig's watch, as the 3rd year of commissioner of baseball, he was actually supposed to be an interim commissioner, but they removed that tag in 97. Bud Selig was supposed to, try to stop things from happening, bad things from happening. But in 94, there was the big baseball strike that lasted until March of 95, where the rumors were that replacement players were going to be playing the MLB season. However, that didn't happen. Thank goodness for that. And I think one of the main reasons is that Ontario would have had a snip because Ontario didn't like scabs and all that. So the Blue Jays would have had to play in Dundee for a long time, or on the road for a long time, until things have happened. But anyway, baseball was at a crossroads. Lots of fans stayed away from the game. The attendance took a massive drop. And, fan interest wasn't that high. Most cities had high fan interest. I mean, every city that had been in the playoffs in 95 had it. New York with the Yankees, Cleveland with the Indians, Boston with the Red Sox, although they always have good support. Seattle with the Mariners, especially Seattle. I mean, without those fans and all that, Seattle would have had to move. Colorado with the Rockies, LA with the Dodgers, Cincy with the Reds, and Atlanta with the Braves. So then home runs needed to be added in to the equation. I think Bud Selig had something to do with the home run thing, the steroids thing, because after all, baseball was losing popularity to other sports, and Selig was probably grasping for straws, and I think he was grasping for straws. That's why steroids were prevalent in 98 and all them, when McGuire and Sosa had that home run chase, and then Bonds did that in 2001, and all that, in the Balco situation and all that. Baseball needed the finances to make sure everything was okay and all that. So, of course, Bud Selig is also to blame for the collapse of the Montreal Expos. He could have done he could have done better in making sure that the Expos were in safe hands, and not just in MLB's hands in 2002, 2003, that they basically penny pinched, and Montreal couldn't call up players for the 2003 stretch drive. That could have got them the wild card, and maybe baseball in Canada would have been much better. But who knows? Anyway, that's just my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.